Hi guys, I'm Jay. Welcome back to my channel, where we discuss the popular culture of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I wanted to look back at another amazing TVOntario cartoon. TVOntario was a station here in Canada, which I used to watch when I was growing up. One of the shows on this station was a stop-motion animation. And it was really cute and involved a bear who is known by different names around the world. He's known by Colargol, Barnaby, but here in Canada, we'll always remember him as Jeremy. Today, guys, we're going to look at Jeremy the Bear.
I'm a bear called Jeremy. I can do most anything. I can play and I can sing. Little tunes that do-re-mi.
The Adventures of Jeremy the Bear were a series of 15-minute shorts which were broadcast here in Canada on TVOntario. They were stop-motion animations, which were unique at the time because most animations were done by traditional hand-drawn animation. This was more of a puppeteer type of animation, and it really was unique in that sense. Jeremy's adventures begin in the Greenwood Forest, where he lives with his mother and father. He's a very young bear, still very sleepy in the morning, not wanting to go to school, much like the children who were watching him on television. I remember watching Jeremy trying to get up, and it reminded me so much of my own childhood, where I was having such a wonderful dream, and my parents would try to wake me up just to go to school. But when I finally went and got up, I was so excited to go to school. And that's exactly what happens to Jeremy. On his way to school, he becomes very easily distracted by multiple creatures in the forest. So much so that when he finally reaches school, his headmaster is a little bit strict with him, asking him what he knows and trying to get him to do, I suppose, would be a complicated math problem for a young bear. Jeremy doesn't do too well. So, being the kind-hearted professor he is, Jeremy's teacher then asks what is he good at, to which Jeremy replies that he is a wonderful singer. So, to oblige him, the teacher leads the entire class in singing a wonderful song. And Jeremy joins in.
Reading, writing, and geometry, and history and geography.
Unfortunately for Jeremy, it obviously doesn't turn out the way he expected. He's somewhat embarrassed and is actually asked to go home for the day. On his way home, Jeremy tries his best to practice his singing with other creatures in the forest. Unfortunately, they don't appreciate what he's trying to do. But he also encounters a school of birds who are wonderfully tweeting and singing their own song, to which Jeremy is enchanted and tries his best to convince the birds to teach him. Unfortunately, the teacher of the entire class tells him as well that he needs a lot of help. Not discouraged, Jeremy continues to hang around, but then discovers that the birds are being attacked by a cat who's trying to steal their eggs. Jeremy does his best to actually rescue the eggs, and in doing so, gains the trust of the flock of birds. The birds tell him that the only way that he can get his voice is to see the king of birds, who will help him to find that magical voice that he so longs for. When Jeremy reaches the king of the birds' palace, he's encountered by a number of obstacles. Luckily, Jeremy is clever enough to figure out a disguise. Once inside, he mingles with the other birds of the court, only to have an audience with the king. But once he reveals himself to be a bear instead of bird, Jeremy is quickly taken captive. His friends, the other birds, come to his rescue and plead with the king of the birds to hear Jeremy's plea. Jeremy, having made a touching plea to the king of the birds, is finally rewarded with his very own whistle. Now that Jeremy has earned his whistle, he returns home and demonstrates his singing ability to his parents. Being bears, they're less than impressed. But Jeremy enters a talent show and hopes to sing in front of his parents to convince them that bears really do sing. Unfortunately, it starts to rain, and Jeremy does not actually get the chance to showcase his true talent. Saddened, Jeremy ends up in the forest alone, singing to himself, where he's heard by a ringmaster of a local circus. The ringmaster convinces Jeremy's parents to allow him to join the circus. After a single performance where his parents are watching, Jeremy is taken away and has a wonderful adventure singing to multitudes of crowds in different cities.
I can do most anything. I can play and I can sing. I'm the bear called Jeremy. Yes, sir, Jeremy.
Jeremy is an instant hit. But fame has its price. Being away from his parents for so long, Jeremy starts to miss home. So he tries to run away, only to be captured once again by the ringmaster of the circus. Unfortunately, the ringmaster, who's been making quite a bit of money off of Jeremy, decides that he won't let his star escape again. And Jeremy is put into a cage. After not hearing from Jeremy through letters for quite some time, his parents begin to get worried. They ask Raven Quell to ask the other birds for help. All the other birds, being very good friends with Jeremy, decide that they have to go search for him. They fan out and try to find out any information they can about Jeremy's whereabouts. Finally, Raven Quell is able to track Jeremy down to his current location in a small town where he's performing, only to find out that Jeremy's been caged and not allowed to roam free. Raven Quell telephones back to the Greenwood Forest and informs them that they have to start planning. As winter approaches, Raven Quell tells the others to get ready, and together they force the circus master to release Jeremy and set him free. This is all done just in time for Christmas. The Adventures of Jeremy the Bear was a wonderful animated cartoon. The stop-motion animation was quite unique in the time when I was watching it as a child. It really did remind me of other cartoons like the Rankin and Bass Christmas carols, which I enjoyed very much. Jeremy has some other wonderful adventures. The ones which I remember the most are when he was traveling the world with a magical suitcase. Well, magical is not the right word. It really was supposed to be a technological suitcase, much more advanced than anything we have today. It could transform into any vehicle that they needed. Cars, boats, balloons. The problem was, it often malfunctioned and left them in a bit of a trouble. But they would always find their way back, no matter what. Jeremy would also go on other adventures, to the Wild West, and even to space, where he would catch shooting comets and dance with the stars. So that reminds me of another animation, which I talked about not too long ago. The Adventures of Jeremy the Bear has wonderful music, which harkens back to its operatic roots. This, of course, is an incredible time for musicals in animation. And the way Jeremy and his friends sing the tune to keep the story going makes this for an enchanting animation.
Hey Jeremy, tell us what can it be?
anymore. I had a chance to pursue my romance. Without my whistle, I can't. What awful news is made us very sad. Oh, what a lovely voice he had.
Always the same, trotting here, trotting there, twisting his nose in the air.
The Adventures of Jerry the Bear is actually based off of a series of short stories written by Olga Pouchine, who had created the character of Colargol in the 1950s as short stories for her son. These short stories were eventually turned into an operatic movement for children by Victor Villiers, who in turn took them to Philips, the record company, who released them to the public. Albert Barillé's animation company, Procidis, produced the animation Les Aventures de Colargol in association with Polish animator Tadeusz Wilkosz. I really have a lot of fond memories about the adventures of Jeremy the Bear. If you'd like to experience some of these episodes for yourself, unfortunately, most of the episodes are no longer available on VHS or DVD or Blu-ray. Although, in other countries, you might be fortunate enough to be able to get your hands on them. I do know that there are some French DVDs out there. If you look on amazon.co.uk, you might be lucky and find some of Jeremy's adventures where he's actually named Barnaby. Well guys, that'll about do it for my look back at the adventures of Jeremy the Bear. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a like. It really helps me out. And please consider subscribing for more episodes that are coming out. Also, you might want to share this with somebody who you think might enjoy it. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions on anime, cartoons, toys, or anything else you'd like me to look at, please leave that in the comment section below. Well guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. Check out some of the other episodes I've done. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter.